Happy Hanukkah, everyone. As you can see here, I am ready, all geared up for tomorrow. It is going to be Hanukkah and a special edition and exclusive over here. I'm going to talk about some of the different Sephardi customs and laws within regards to Hanukkah. It's you're going to hear a lot of traditions from different Sephardi countries, such as in Turkey, Libya, all these great places with such rich heritage. What did they do on Hanukkah? Was there anything different or not than what we hear nowadays? Pretty much most of the stuff is exactly the same, and a lot of different laws and customs has got integrated from all the different countries. Here I've got the Sephardi in for tomorrow to play with the kids, and I'll give a few introductions. Something I got from there was a person that wrote actually a very good introduction within regards to different customs. Someone of the name, I'll tell you his name, Adam Eilat. I hope I pronounced it correct. He gave a nice introduction within regards to what the people did in the different countries, especially in parts of Europe such as Turkey and so on and so forth, and in the northern African places also. So I will get under the different customs that actually took place. For example, during Chanukah time period, Yemenite Jewish women used to wear clothing decorated with bells, and they would hold their bells in their hands, and after they lit the candles of the Chanukah, of the menorah, what did they do over here? They would go out into the street and play music using the bells to celebrate the miracle of Chanukah. That was one of the customs in the Yemen territories over here. Also, if we look also other countries, let's look into it. What was going on in Turkey? He says it was customary to eat unnatural dairy products in memory of the miracle that happened with Yehudit, within regards to the story of Elefronus, or it's pronounced in different ways within regards to cheese and wine. But that basically is most of the customs, I think, also in Eastern Europe, they would also have milky products also during the festival of Hanukkah. That was predominantly in Turkey. Also, in Libya, mothers sent their married daughters something called sponge. That was interesting. It's like a donut, a fried donut kind of thing. A bit different to the jelly donuts that we have, but also very, very similar. I think in Morocco, also, they would have those things also. Also in Tunisia, the Chanukah would hang in the entrance of the home from the time of Chanukah all the way until Purim. That was a custom in Turkey over there, and many more customs he says on. And I'll talk about another, actually a prominent scholar that also did a very, very good article, and he breaks it up into many different places. I'll tell you his name now. Someone with the name, I think he's Rabbi Yosef Mosseri, or he could be not sure if he's rabbi or not, but he's definitely given a very, very good illustration within regards to the Sephardic countries. What was the customs over there and different laws, how it could deviate within regards to the different laws other communities would keep. So he actually goes in and introduces, he says that the custom in Egypt was not to say Siduk Hadin in all 8 days of Hanukkah. That's the first thing he comes in. The second bullet point he will give in his very, very informative article over here, the custom among all Middle Eastern and North African Jewish communities is to only use pure olive oil for the Hanukkah lights. And that's ideal also for Shabbat also itself. On Shabbat, it's ideal to use Shemen Zait Zach, clear olive oil, as opposed to candles. Obviously with candles, many people would use candles also, but to ideally use olive oil, that was a custom in most of these Sephardic countries. Many of the European countries also would ideally do this. If you go to, especially a lot of the Haredi households, they would also do this, because I think it's a beauty of the mitzvah. And I think we read it in B'mei Madlikin on the Tefillah on Shabbat, in the Mishnayot, in Masechet Shabbat. Also, it's the best way of fulfilling the commandment naturally through olive oil. Why olive oil? Because the miracle of Chanukah actually happened through olive oil. Okay, so another custom, next point he brings out is obviously from Rav Yosef Karo in the Shulchan Aruch, where you start with the light on the right, meaning that on the first night when you are lighting to light, you begin with a wick closest to your right hand. That was according to the Shulchan Aruch, according to Rav Yosef Karo, who I did a video about on his Hilula. This was back, I think, on Erev Pesach or around that time period also. So if you're doing that with the right, on the second night you begin with a wick adjacent to the one you lit on the first night. then you light the one of the first night, and then so forth. On the third night, you begin with the newest wick and work your way back to the right, and such is the manner on every other night. So then once you get actually to by the last night, you'll be lighting that closest to your left hand first and moving to your right. In the same manner that we write English or any Western language, he actually adds on. Also interesting. He also adds on this scholar, since the custom is to use oil wicks and not candles, we light with a candle, and after the obligatory lights are kindled, the shamash obviously is the center one, or will be naturally this one over here, inside this Chanukah I've got, or extra wick is kindled with the candle. The candle then at that stage will be extinguished. Now the fourth bullet point he gives in this very, very informative article is that if you can safely light near your entranceway in order to publicize the Chanukah miracle to those who pass by in the street, obviously naturally that is a pinnacle, because on Chanukah itself we meforsam the miracles that have taken place. We're trying to meforsam it, to publicize it over here, and we see many of the great stories within regards to this. Now he adds on, if not, you can feel comfortable knowing that you can follow the custom to light inside the house where it will be publicized to the family members. And that is very, very important. I believe this is actually related over in the Shulchan Aruch on chapter 671. There's also another thing he adds on over here. The custom is to follow the Kabbalah of the Ari, which is brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, also over here, the code of Jewish law, for the bracha, and to say lahadlik ner Chanukah. This is what the Sephardi customs communities will say, lahadlik ner Chanukah, as opposed to the Ashkenazim will say shel Chanukah. Also, that's another very important difference over here. So, if you're going to be watching any videos from Israel, you will see some people will say shel Chanukah, some people will not say it. They'll just say automatically Chanukah instead. Now we're going on to Motzei Shabbat territory. What does he say over here? The Shulchan Aruch decreed that in the synagogues, the Chanukah light should be kindled first, then Havdalah should be recited. So it's first lighting the Chanukah candles, and then Havdalah. And there's machloket in many communities within regards to this. And this is the way the law and the custom was practiced, apparently, in Aleppo in Syria. Obviously, there's a huge Chalabi community in New York now. I'm sure I would assume, would follow this. On the other hand, many poskim also, he adds, and Rishonim and Achronim disagree with Maran, with Rav Yosef Karo over here, regarding this, and therefore, obviously, naturally, there will be a variation of customs. So he actually adds on over here that the custom in both Cairo, in Egypt, and in Alexandria was to say Havdalah first, both in the synagogue and at home. In the custom in Yerushalayim, what did the Yerushalmis do? According to Chacham Moshe Pardo, who was Abbet Din over there, in his Shemot Moshe, was also to say Havdalah first, even in the synagogue, so that would take preference over here. He adds on, now in the seventh bullet point, that the custom of Friday afternoon, or evening naturally, of Chanukah, as brought down in the Chidah, Rav Yosef Chaim David Azulay, one of the great rabbis from Morocco, from the Birkei Yosef, and in the name of Chacham Shmuel Abohab, is to pray mincha in the synagogue. Then this is what they do. Then go home, kindle the Hanukkah lights, then to light the Shabbat weeks, then return to the synagogue for Kabbalat Shabbat and Arvit, naturally. That's what he says. I mean, there's questions on this, but I'll leave that for another time. Number 8. On the Shabbat Eve, occurring during Chanukah, B'mei Madlikin is not recited. So that's what's in the Sephardi communities. I'm not too sure if someone can comment. I'm not too sure what they would do inside the Ashkenazi synagogues within regards to B'mei Madlikin over there. So I won't comment on that. It will be interesting. If someone will know later on, drop a comment on that. Also, another thing interesting is he adds on, in the synagogue, the Chanukah lights need to be placed against the southernmost wall. On the first night, the westernmost lights will be lit first, and etc. And this is based on the response of the Haradbaz over here, Chacham David ibn Abi Zimra over there. So I will very much recommend everyone to research on this great scholar. Okay, the next bullet point he gives over here in this very, very informative article. It's actually in a number of places have quoted this excellent informative breakdown. The custom in both Egypt and Jerusalem is to also light the Chanukah lights in the synagogue during the daytime. This, of course, is done without a baracha. The reason for this lighting is strictly for the sake of proclaiming the miracle, since the light of these wicks is not needed during the day. Naturally, because we've got light in the daytime, so why will we need it? It is also to help remind those who may not have lit at light for whatever reason, what day of the holiday. It is so that they could light the proper number at night. In Egypt, we're going into Egypt territory. I don't know if he was Egyptian or not, Mr. Yosef. In Egypt, this was done before the commencement of prayers, and in Jerusalem before Sameach. I'm not too sure what he means by that, but that's very, very interesting. Actually, during why we do it also in the synagogues, I would also, in my own opinion, I would assume is because maybe some people couldn't afford to have a Chanukah or whatever it might be, or to even afford the lights, and people should actually partake in this mitzvah. Obviously, naturally, they have to partake in it, but if that was over there. So another custom in Egypt he's talking about over here. He must have probably been Egyptian, this scholar. The custom in Egypt during daily morning services of Hanukkah is to recite the Hanukkah holiday Mizmor. This is Mizmor Shir Chanukah. This is in chapter Lamed of the Psalms over here, number 30. Immediately after the Sefer Torah is returned to the Heichal, and naturally the Kaddish of Titkabal is going to be said. The Mizmor is said, following by Kaddish, Yeheshemeh Rabbah, and very, very interesting. Okay, so number 12. If prayers are held in the house of a mourner, if someone is mourning, during Chanukah, both the mourner and all those in attendance say Hallel in the house of the mourner. So he's not giving a source over here, so I'll double check that. The reason for this is that the Chanukah Hallel was established by the Chachamim, and we are commanded to recite it. And he adds, on Rosh Chodesh the law would be different, as Rosh Chodesh Hallel is only a custom. So seemingly on Rosh Chodesh Hallel, I would assume that the mourners would not say that, but I will double check into that also. Now we're going into Tunisia. What's the custom over there? The custom in Tunisia is that all the while that the lights are burning, the ladies do not do any work. And that's in most of the communities. If I'm not mistaken, some people will wait half an hour from the time of lighting until they would do work, but many people would, the whole time it's going to be lit, will not do any work. I think that's a universal thing, but I will double check on that. But I know that there's, I'm pretty sure there's also a 30-minute threshold, according to some people, but don't take my word on that one. I'll look into that. Okay, so next bullet point. Now he's talking about also Libya and Tunisia. Libya had a very, very prominent Jewish community with a lot of great Rabbanim back in the day. He holds that on Rosh Chodesh Tevet, it is called Rosh Chodesh of the girls, in remembrance of the heroics of Yehudit. On this day, parents send gifts to girls and grooms to their brides-to-be over here. So this was done apparently in Tunisia and Libya. I don't know if this was done in the other Sephardic countries over there, but it sounds like a very nice minhag. Generally in Rosh Chodesh, people don't do, the women don't do certain jobs like laundry and other things on Rosh Chodesh itself, but because Rosh Chodesh Tevet, it has this sort of seemingly very nice custom with regards to that, in commemoration of the heroics of Yehudit, which maybe I will speak about the story of Yehudit another time. The custom also, he adds, bullet point 15, the custom in Aleppo, in Chalab, and in many other Sephardic cities was that prior to Chanukah, the shamash of the synagogue, the shamash naturally would be a gabbai or a warden, we would say in English, would give out tall wax candles to each man, which he would use for lighting the Chanukah wicks. They in return would give him a small donation. That was custom in Syria over there, which I recommend everyone to look into more of the customs over here. Now, a Rabbi Shem Tov Gajoin, he has a sefer, it looks like, Keter Shem Tov, I hope I pronounce his name correctly, mentions that the customs in the following countries, in Israel, in Syria, Turkey, and in Egypt, would be to say the first bracha of Lahadlik Ner Chanukah, then to light while saying the other brachot. Naturally, on the first night of Chanukah, we would say 3 brachot. That will be tomorrow night. This is also the custom among most traditional families, but there are many who will say all the brachot prior to lighting over here. So that's what he's adding on here. I will double check the Shulchan Aruch within regards to that also. So number 17. he now gives different things. He says, we all love our sufganiyot, many people. It's not good for the cholesterol naturally, so I wouldn't recommend people to have so much of it. That's one thing for sure. But a little bit, obviously, in many circumstances will be good. But there's a different kind of word or a phrase to describe this donut in different countries. So, for example, in Egypt, it was called zalabia or lukmat el kadib. So this I didn't actually hear of before. In Iraq and in Syria, it was called zingol or zinjol. That also something I'm not so familiar with. In Turkey, it was called bil muelos, which is very, very interesting. And in Greece, it was called lokomadas over there. This is what the donuts or this fried dough was called over there. So very interesting. I'll just add on, in Greece, before the Holocaust, there was actually quite a large Jewish community. Unfortunately, I think 75% of the people were murdered during the Holocaust in Greece, around that percentage. I might be mistaken with the exact figures, or maybe that was in a specific locale in Greece called Volvos, which I did a video recently on the Hilula of, I think, the former chief rabbi of Greece, who actually was from Volvos originally. So I will check that also. So he actually adds on over here, naturally, we all play with the dreidels, with the sevivonim, as they call this in Ivrit. All the countries across the world do it, because there was miracles of, the kids used to play with the dreidels in the caves during Chanukah. So he says that the custom was, within regards to the custom was never to give out presents or spin a top. We're talking about a dreidel or a sevivon on Chanukah. These are traditions that came from the German lands, and from living among Christians who exchanged presents from the Xmas holiday, which usually coincided with the Hanukkah. So it's actually interesting. So seemingly over here, he's saying over here, which I made a mistake just 2 minutes ago, that dreidels, the sevivonim, it wasn't necessarily played in some of these countries. I don't know if he's referring to all the Sephardi countries, or Egypt, or Iraq, Turkey, and maybe in places like Iran, they would have played with it, because if I'm not mistaken, maybe they did play with it in Iran, but seemingly this was more of a European custom to play with dreidels, and not necessarily that in the Sephardic countries or North African countries they would play with these things, but I will double check that also. So that's the first time I have heard that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in Iran they did play with the dreidels over there, but I'll double check on that. Okay, so he adds on, the brachot are lahadlik ner Chanukah and sh'asa nisim. On the first night, we also add the bracha of Shechianu. Naturally, everyone will do that. After that, we recite Hanerot Halalu. That will be the next thing, seemingly, in the Sephardic countries. We all sing it. There's different tunes for it. Hanerot Halalu. And there's a famous one when I was in England, when growing up in primary school. I remember how did it go again? Hanerot Halalu, anachnu madlikin ala nisim. Yes, so that was the one I've got. So that's interesting. The version that has 51 words and not 36 words. So I think there's two different versions of Hanerot Halalu. One will have 51 words, the other one will have 36 words. So the one we grew up with when I was a kid in primary school naturally had 36 words. And what's interesting about number 36, if I'm not mistaken, 36 is the amount of candles we will light throughout Chanukah if we do not include the shamash over here. So altogether we'll do 36. And I believe the amount of tractates there are in the Talmud or something is 36 also, but I'll double check on that also. We also say Mizmor Shir Chanukat Abayit LeDavid, which is Psalm number 30, and naturally we sing Gema Osor, and my family name, part of it, is actually featured in Devir Kodsho on the third part of the Osor, which hopefully many of you listening just remember me when you sing that tomorrow night. Okay, so he adds on two final tidbits. So law and custom for Sephardim is that only one Chanukah menorah is used for the entire family. Apparently, this is what it is. However, Ashkenazi custom of each member of the family lighting their own personal Chanukah. So there's a difference here. It seems like from one Chanukah is enough for an entire household in the Sephardic families. Over here, I don't know if this differs in regards to each family, and he didn't put the exact source here. In most traditional families, in order to share in the love of the mitzvah, the head of the household will give each member of the family a chance to light. So I think we did that also when I grew up also in my parents' house. On the first night, he will light the first wick, and he'll let his wife light the shamash. On the second night, he'll give the newest wick, his wife the next, then the oldest child the shamash, for all 8 nights. This was apparently the procedure in many of these Sephardi countries. He ends up over here concluding that Sephardim, until recently, never called the Chanukah lights by the name of menorah. Naturally, I believe that's the English way, or Hanukkah. It was simply referred to as Hanukkah. So it's interesting. So actually, the name of the festival itself of Hanukkah, what is written over here, it was actually called, the menorah itself was actually called Chanukah, not necessarily Chanukiah. I believe Chanukiah is the term that is used in modern Hebrew also. So that's some very interesting things. One thing I would say, just to conclude at the moment over here, is that make the most of it, of Chanukah. You know, it's a time period where all these Nisim took place, you know, all the great miracles, and we're in a period at the moment where there's a lot of darkness around us, there's a lot of sheker, a lot of lies across the world that is taking place, unfortunately. And it's our job to bring light to everything else, not to have claims, bring light, do good acts, good acts of kindness, you know, make the most of Chanukah. When we're keeping to all these minhagim during Hanukkah, we're not doing it for self-gratification. We're not going to eat the donuts because, wow, I get to have a delicious donut. I get to have the latkes, the lebivot, because it's so tasty. Do it because, you know, these are the customs of Hanukkah. When we have the milky products, if we're going to get pizza or something cheesy, have in mind the miracles of Yehudit. When we're singing Gemara, so sing it with joy. Don't sing it quickly. Take our time. Many of us... let's absorb the day itself and enjoy it. We give out presents to our kids, make them feel good. We give presents to other people. We share love. We speak good words. And Bezrat Hashem, we're in the Festival of Light. We're going to spread light to the world and be a shining beacon of hope to the whole world at the moment. I would like to dedicate this to a few people. To Fega Bat Esther, Refuah Shlema. Also to Shaina Bat Avram, Refuah Shlema also, and also to everyone, Ruth Rachel Bat Marglit, that just gave birth 2 weeks ago, for a full Refuah Shlema, and just brachot for the whole of Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael Chai, everyone. I'm ready also for tomorrow night, and hopefully you'll see me in action, hopefully, and please don't forget to smash like on the video over here, and please share it to friends, and please watch over all the other videos I have been doing. So, Chanukah Sameach, happy Hanukkah, and enjoy.